imagine I see a Viet Cong with a bayonet coming towards me. And he's ready to stab me with it when I would sort of wake up, alert, and of course there was no one there.
The delusions of a weary soldier on a battlefield in Vietnam, dreaming the enemy, the Viet Cong, is near. Waking to discover the disturbing images are illusions, no immediate threat. For 21-year-old Specialist 4th Class Augie Scariino from Brooklyn, New York, sleep was often troubled, fleeting, his mind continuously processing reality.
You smell the death, you see the carnage of what bombs can do, and mortar rounds and bullets can do to bodies.
A deafening orchestra of heavy artillery fire and chopper blades slicing through the sky remained a constant reminder of the war around him. Too often, he and his brothers in arms barely escaping death.
In the morning, we realized that a piece of the bomb had gone right above our heads and embedded in the tree trunks right over our heads. So that we were very, very lucky in the sense that if we were standing up, or if the shrapnel had been maybe 12 inches lower, we could have been decapitated without an exaggeration.
The year was 1967, and Augie and his comrades had been fighting one of the most controversial wars in U.S. history.
The problems of Vietnam are quite complex. They are a mixture of political turmoil, of poverty, of religious and factional strife, of ancient servitude, and modern longing for freedom. Vietnam is all of these things.
And television brought the war right to Americans' living rooms. The presence of media so pervasive, the Vietnam conflict often referred to as the first television war. Augie had been in Vietnam 10 months. On November 19th, the dreams of an advancing enemy would become a nightmare few would live to tell about. Augie and his battalion following orders: attack Hill 875 in North Vietnam. A directive that would change his life and those of his comrades from 4th Infantry and 173rd Airborne forever. It would be remembered as the Battle of Dak To. Fighting was fierce, deadly, hand to hand.
There were body parts, there were incomplete torsos, there were a lot of limbs missing. Some were charcoal because of the fire.
Augie remembers one soldier, desperate and afraid, staying alive by any means.
He felt that the only way for him to survive was if he used his comrades' dead bodies as protection. You know, again, in situations like that, individuals will do extraordinary things, or things that an average, normal individual will never even imagine, let alone think of.
As the battle to take Hill 875 raged on, it became clear this was not a typical firefight.
The battle lasted 5 days. A firefight will last an hour, maybe even 15 minutes, sometime a couple of hours, but it wouldn't be, it would be intense for a short period of time. There would be a lull, and then there would be another rush of exchange and so on. You know, and there were a lot of accidents they call friendly fire.
Friendly fire nearly sealed Augie's fate that night. As help began arriving, a U.S. plane accidentally dropped a 500-pound bomb on the men, killing as many as 40, wounding scores more. Trapped, taking on fire, running low on food, supplies, medicine, and ammunition, casualties heavy, the situation appeared hopeless. At what point do you say to yourself, either you talk to God and say, I'm ready to go, or you say, not today, I'm not ready, and I'm gonna make sure I get out of here? Or is the choice even yours at that point?
Well, you know, they talk about foxhole religion. I think there's something to be said about that.
Augie and the others hunkered down in a tight perimeter. It would be 3 days before rescue efforts began. On the 5th day of the battle, units of the 173rd Airborne finally captured Hill 875. In total, the Vietnam War lasted nearly 20 years. Direct U.S. military involvement ended on August 15, 1973. In the U.S. and the Western world, a large anti-Vietnam War movement developed. After risking his life to serve his country, Augie came home, only to bear the brunt of widespread criticism. He still wore his patriotism with pride, though, a recipient of the Bronze Star for meritorious service. Augie regretted very little. Do you feel you lost even more coming home and people either not wanting to, fearing to acknowledge what you gave up for your country?
No, I never looked at it in that respect. I never did, that I gave up something.
There was some sense of loss, a yearning for an era, the belief he had somehow missed some of the most memorable events of his generation. How did it affect you?
In the sense that I thought I missed out on something in America. You were talking about the mid-60s, you know, drugs, sex, and rock and roll. You know, so I thought I had missed out.
On
right,
the big three.
Right.
You missed out.
You know, I missed out on all of this, right? So that for approximately 4 years, I really wasn't serious about life.
Right.
It was a strange feeling. One day, you're in the middle of the jungle. 3 days later, you're in Seattle, Washington. And 12 hours later, you're on 58th Street, Brooklyn, New York, with your mom and dad, your brother and sister. And you're sitting on the couch watching TV with a silk smoking jacket on that you bought in Benoit, Vietnam. And you're just speechless. I was numb, basically.
Did you talk about what you'd seen?
No, never did I talk about my experience, either with my family, or with my friends, or with my co-workers. As a matter of fact, the only thing they knew is that I was a Vietnam vet.
And then it all changed. He found a reason to be better, to do better. He found his reason for living.
I met Alice in summer of 1972, and she sort of gave me that motivation of wanting to achieve something more than just hanging out in the neighborhood bar, you know, drinking beer and playing pool and talking sports. She's the one that was really the Rock of Gibraltar, I guess you can call it.
She's your foundation,
yes,
your core. This also helped save him from the despair of depression, a dark abyss that nearly swallowed him whole twice in his life. The first time during his tenure as a teacher, watching close friends suffer abuse in the workplace.
I had made some exceptional good friends with my colleagues. When there was a change in leadership at the school, the individual had this philosophy of leading by intimidation and fear. And I saw all my friends getting depressed, asking to go to other schools to get away from being treated in such a manner. And I took it personally, to the point where I was having homicidal thoughts as far as this principal and 2 other assistant principals.
So is that like from your need to protect?
Right, because they had done such terrible things to my close friends, and I had lost them because of them. Of course, my conscience wouldn't allow me to do that, so somebody has to get hurt. And that's when I went into that first depressive state without realizing it. I was fortunate enough to go to a vet center at Cadman Plaza. And I saw a psychiatric nurse, and she picked up right away on what the problem was. And she's the one that coordinated with the Brooklyn VA, that special program they have for PTSD problems that I didn't know I had.
The VA has been good to you?
Yeah, and then through that program, through Bert Hirsch, the social worker in charge, Dr. Stein, who's retired now, and Sheila, the psychologist, between individual therapy and group therapy, we go through this special program at the VA called the Day Hospital. And it worked. It took 6 months the first time, but it worked. Both me and Alice, we have two things that we cherish each other and our nuclear and extended family. That's our life today. We're at that stage where we were never that materialistic. We have more stuff than we need, actually, above and beyond. Excessive to it.
So you share the wealth, so to speak.
Basically, this is what, not only the wealth, but also the wisdom we try. And of course, the love that we have for each other.
It should come as no surprise that men who trusted one another in battle would form an unbreakable bond, a connection they share with a new generation of soldiers, a tradition that embodies the principle of the other 99 times.
I'm a member of the combat brigade that I was a member of in Vietnam. We have sort of a loose organization. At one time, it was more than a loose organization. But now it's just we get together and have lunch once in a while and just talk and the whole bit, right? It's original individuals who were part of the brigade when it was first initiated and all the way through. And now we've also incorporated the new Sky Soldiers, as they call,
Sky Soldiers,
who are based in Italy and Germany now. So that this tradition that's going to hand it over from the old to the new, and hopefully it'll continue beyond that.
Camaraderie that has become a mental salve.
And it is motivational. It is invigorating. It makes you feel good.
When Augie looks back on the war, it is not the protests or the fightings or the sheer gravity of the loss of life that he focuses on.
We did something special. We're part of history. We made history in many respects. Maybe it's not the kind of history that you would like to brag about, but
you left a footprint.
Yes.
And that's important. I thank you so much for your service.
Thank you, Liz.
I thank you for what you do for your family.
For the opportunity to tell a small part of my life, my life story.
We have to have you back.
Yes, I would love to.
Thank you.
If we can, definitely.
We will make it happen. Thank you, Sergeant
Wonderful.
Scariino,
Yes.
for everything
Thank you,
that
Liz.
you've done. Thank you so much.
Before you go into that,
Yes.
just let's touch upon the homecoming.